Japanese culture. Something that most people will not understand if you only go off of it by just anime and video games. At the same time, not everyone is going to support your playthrough if you don't give a reason to support it. And that's something that goes with Darkside Phil Burnell, Darkside Karen, stuff like that, as he's struggling to kind of keep support to his channel. This is part 2 of my 3-pronged series where I talk about DSP to get back into the swing of things. And this part 2 is going to talk about Phil and his comments about waifus, Japanese culture, and the coping segments of his One Piece Odyssey. And I talk about why Phil's content is failing. So this is part 2 continuing on about why his legacy continuing. So with these 2 videos, I actually have asked some detractors in the community who have clipped this stuff. So thank you to both Aquateal and Duty Streams. Link in the description, and we're gonna begin with the first video. But first, of course, I gotta have my intro, which I did do a little editing to it because once again, Phil fell for another fake intro by fan, quote unquote. Oh, it's so much fun, I forget to laugh. Oh wait. Ha 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 ha.
But if it's your fate, then every step forward will always be a step closer to home.
So the first video will be back in November. I think this video was I asked for this video, and this was Phil getting a question about waifus, and this is kind of where Phil really shows his not understanding of Japanese culture, because he bases off video games, and how much he has this disdain for all this. And it really shows how much Phil has changed since he met Kat, but he changed for all the wrong reasons. Because it feels like Phil is trying to talk down or look down to all this, while thinking that he's in a better, meaningful relationship, and he's against these fictional stuff. But we know for a fact that Phil is not in a real relationship with Kat. At this point, we have kind of been proven that they're kind of arrangement, they're almost roommates, more so than his relationship with Leanna. And honestly, this is just Phil projecting something he doesn't understand. So kind of similar to how a lot of people do it, I will be using Phil's clips, some Aquateal and Duty Streams, and I'll come back each time when I have a point. So let's begin with this part, so let's go. This will be fun.
Anonymous dollar tip. This person says, I romanced An in Persona 5. She's my real waifu in any game. Oh, she's my first real waifu in any game. Do you have a similar story? Do you have any romance missions in your playthroughs? Listen, I am 100% for anyone out there, if you want to have a virtual romance in a video game, go for it. That's your prerogative. That's your choice. I respect your choice. If you think that that's meaningful to you, if it adds to the content of a game or a playthrough, go for it. Some games have it, some games don't. It depends on the game. If you notice, it seems like a lot of these Japanese-centric cultural games, like the Yakuza series or these JRPGs, seem to be the ones that have those kind of virtual dating mini games and virtual relationship games in them.
I mean, not all of them. I mean, it's a small percentage of games that have these relationship kind of building kind of stories. Well, most of them do, but again, they're fictional and they add a little bit more flavor to the characters, and you see the relationship they grow. With Phil, he's looking at this as just waifu simulator, which is never what these games are about. But again, he doesn't know this, he doesn't understand this. And that's something that is why people get on Phil's case for this. And again, yes, keep in mind, he's played Yakuza. He's fallen asleep, and honestly, I wouldn't even say I think the only game that have focused on like relationships were the later Yakuza games. Maybe? I don't know. I'm going in blind with these games. But we'll see what else this pig roast says, okay?
And I think it's because in Japan, let's be honest, in Japanese culture, it's proven. The Japanese populace tend to be so work-centric, right? They're so busy with their jobs and their careers. That's what they focus on for a lot of their lives. It's actually a problem in Japan where a lot of people don't seek out meaningful relationships, don't get married, don't have kids.
Okay. Where is he getting this information, Phil? Where are you getting this information? Again, you're basing this off of video games. You're basing this observation off video games. You're basing this off the few, like, JRPG series you play. Again, where are you getting this information from? Again, he's judging this off of because of what he thinks he knows about Japanese culture. And the fact that, and again, what's it about work-centric? You don't work. And that's the thing, you understand what goes on in culture. And that's the thing he's saying, is like, you're not understanding this culture because you just don't want to, or you're judging it off of one thing because you only get off video games. And that's the problem with Phil, is how he wants to call, like, how xenophobic he is to Japan, because he doesn't really understand it. And that's the problem, is again, where do you get this information from? And of course, Phil doesn't really think that people are going to believe him. Like, again, you go, probably even look at the chat sometimes, some of them probably don't challenge Phil. It's like, okay, Phil, where are you getting this information from? Where are you getting this observation from? I don't believe you. But, okay, Phil, continue to explain to us what you know about Japanese culture. Because, again, you don't know about anything about Japanese culture. You're basing off your own observation, your own opinions of a culture that you've only interacted with based on video games and the FTC. So again, Phil, what is your opinion, and where are you getting this facts from?
It's becoming almost a big epidemic in Japan that now it's all about work. So where do they seek out those kind of relationships? Virtually, in video games, or going to one of these, what are they called? I can't even remember now. The cafe you go to and the person acts like they're your girlfriend or boyfriend, but they're not, and you're just paying them. There's a word for it. It's not escort. It's something else in Japan. I can't believe I'm completely having a brain fart about this, because we've seen it in Yakuza a million times, right? How am I not hosting? Thank you. The whole hosting, the host clubs, right?
Again, you're basing this off of video games, Phil. Oh, it's an epidemic. They're all about work, just work, and they only get anything they're just seeking fictional relationships. Again, you're basing this off of just video games. Okay, again, this is something that has to be said. Yes, there is a culture. The otaku culture does take their obsession with anime and manga and video games to a very, very serious level. Because unfortunately they don't. Because they, well, and the right way to put it, they don't try to seek relationships. What Phil's not getting is that it's more of an issue. It's not because of they have work. Sometimes it's because not that sociable, or sometimes they take their obsessions to the point where it's almost uncomfortable. There's even Japan. They don't like the fact that they don't defend or they don't defend or act like they don't see an issue with these lolicon, the shotas, these people who basically take their obsession with little girls, little boys, and they will clap down on this. They're not gonna get rid of all the fan service stuff, mind you. They will clap down on the fact that people want to bang children. And they will do something about that. And they will try. Again, Phil had the brain fart remembering what Host Club is. He didn't even know what these stuff was, probably until Judgment. Think about that, you know?
People know they're not getting a real relationship, but they go and spend tons of money on it. When you're playing a video game, you know that's not a real relationship, but you're getting some entertainment out of it, right? And that's why I think we find these as majorly prominent in games from Japan, okay? That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's an observation, all right? If you get entertainment factor out of that, good for you. Enjoy. It's in there. It's to be enjoyed. I don't think anyone has a right to criticize your ability to enjoy content that's in that video game, all right? But at the very same time, I don't partake in that stuff usually because I don't feel there's value in it. I'm in a loving relationship with my wife. We don't need virtual relationships. We don't care about that shit. By the way, if you ever do stuff like that as a public-faced content creator, people make fun of it. People try to say ridiculous conspiracy theory nonsense about it. Oh, because Phil has a virtual waifu in this game. That probably upsets his wife, and he's cheating on his wife by having a waifu in this video game. And dumb shit like that.
Yeah, like, only Phil seems to take this, like, seriously. Yeah, but here's the thing, like, a lot of couples play these kind of games together. They like to play these types of games. They like to have fun with these kind of games. Hell, most people who are, like, brothers or, like, close friends, they like playing these kind of games because it's fun. Phil is judging on something he doesn't understand because, again, it's Phil. And, again, we all have been proved multiple times that Phil does not have a meaningful relationship with Kat. For one reason, and I think we all have to understand this, is the fact that we don't see her. When they were on camera back in 2018, when we first met her, they were like, they did not look comfortable together. It's mostly Kat didn't look comfortable sitting with him. And again, Phil likes to just throw these words into Kat's mouth. Kat was playing Persona 5 before she got with Phil. Her original playthrough for that game is still up there on her Chaos Film channel. So we don't forget, where is Phil getting decided she doesn't want to partake in this. I mean, yeah, she does is play Skyrim all day, and does the Thieves Guild. But again, Phil has no proof that this is what Kat thinks. We're only getting from her opinion. Again, this is the thing. The fact that Phil is so focused on waifus. And keep in mind, Japan is not the only country that does, like, relationship kind of stories. Things like Mass Effect does it too. Like, you have Shepard who gets a relationship with many of his crew members. He gets into a relationship with some of his crew members. But again, Phil wouldn't know. Phil just says, oh, it's because it's from Japan they do it. Boy, it really does show how much he's become so uncomfortable to something that is, to him, he knows is not meaningful. And because it does matter to the story, because you get to see these relationships. They do matter, even though they're not canon.
So, why bother even doing the setup for that kind of online horse shit, right? So usually if I'm in a video game and any of these stupid virtual relationships or anything are available, I'll skip it because I don't see the value in it. But that's me. I'm in a different life situation than a lot of other people.
I love how Phil has to think that he's above all this, and he doesn't understand like why these stuff are in these games. But they matter because they help flesh out the character. You see different sides there of these characters, and they grow. Phil would understand character because, and this is a theory I've always had. I think the reason why Phil always makes himself in video games is the idea that he likes this idea that he's this powerful, badass, and real. But that's why he always makes himself. And I think with Phil, he plays these games, and now with the fact that he can't project these ideas on these characters, but who have voices and stuff like that, he wishes that these characters were hearted like he was, or he is, you know? But again, this is Phil basing this idea that And again, in fact, he skips this stuff. Like, okay, Phil, but you're skipping content that people will be interested in. And that's what really kind of ruined his judgment, lost judgment, because he skipped the host of stuff, which would be very good of interaction and great development for Yagami, considering that he did go through a very hard moment in his life because the girl he wanted to be married to in in Lost Judgment, was killed, and he needs to find a way to help move on, make closure with people. And that's why you see his relationship with friends. That's why you see his relationship with others, his fellow colleagues. It's about character growth, Phil. Something you would never get. You don't understand this stuff because you don't think this doesn't matter to the story. And people gotta remember, it's not a waifu simulator. No one cares what kind of relationship you want. They're fictional. And Phil takes it seriously. And that is what the issue, Phil. You take this seriously like it doesn't matter when it matters to the characters more than what it matters to you.
And I'm okay with that. And I would ask that if I'm going to respect everyone else's ability, if they want to enjoy those virtual relationships, please respect my ability to abstain from them. And don't try to misconstrue it and spin it into something dramatic or toxic or conspiracy theory level bullshit. Just say, okay, I get it. It's no big deal. Who cares?
The issue isn't the fact that it's not that you don't like, that you're not interested in this. It's the fact you take it seriously. It's the fact that you take it, it's the fact that you take it seriously. Like, again, this has been going on with Phil since he met Kat, is that he's been taking these way too seriously. And okay, if you don't want to do these relationships, Phil, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you're skipping content that would actually be good for your streams. But the fact that he's bored and making his streams boring, he wonders why these RPGs are not doing as well as they did back then. Not because you're staying from them, Phil, because people find it weird that you take it seriously, as I just stated before. That's the problem.
It's not my business. Who gives a shit, right? Same thing. I don't give a shit if you have a virtual... I don't care if An is your virtual waifu. Why the hell would I give a shit, right? It's not my business. You have fun with the game. Same thing here. If I don't want to do a virtual dating sim in Yakuza, I'll skip it, and you should respect that decision as well. And if you don't, well, that's your own fault, and you're being unreasonable. That just like I think it's unreasonable if someone judges you for doing it. Either way is fine. Just respect everyone else's. You know what it is? Live and let live. Everyone respect everyone else, and then you'll have a good life. Not being, so overly crazy judgmental towards people because they do one thing or another. Okay? Okay, there you go.
And that's it. That's the end of that video, which I might split in 2 parts. I'm not really sure how many cuts I can do from here, but let's kind of recap here. The thing that Phil doesn't understand is it's not because the fact that you do it and it's okay for other people to do it, it's not how you take it so seriously. He gets so uncomfortable to any type of female interaction, even games that don't have romances. The fact that Phil will go as far as to never play a female fighter, he never put any females in his party unless the party is small. He will go out his way to not do it. The fact that he thinks that this is a whole type of culture shows how much Phil is judging one half of Japan than anything else. And the fact that he's going to skip what is good content. And keep in mind, Phil makes his RPGs boring anyway. So he's skipping good content that would actually be good for his stream. And that's the problem. Is that he's skipping content that would actually be very good. And you wouldn't know. You don't you can tell how it's uncomfortable to him. Like when he was trying to when he had to do one of those kind of missions where Yagami was helping one of his friends and be a lot more open, be a lot more comfortable. Phil went out his way to make her look as plain as possible. That says a lot, that Phil is so uncomfortable with fictional characters, he wants to make the character, instead of being more open and more expressive, plain, And that's the problem, There's no conspiracy theory. The fact that you're more comfortable with your own marriage, that you're now taking this out on fictional relationships. That's what I think is really going on. There's no conspiracy. We have more proof of that. You and Kat don't really spend real time with each other, and it's kind of showing. And that's the big issue, that it really does show that Phil is more comfortable with his own marriage than video games. That's what I think. So, final thoughts for this first part, because I'm actually going to split these in two-parters. I mean, I will cover Duty Streams video next. Don't know when I'll do that one, I will probably cover that later. But final thoughts to kind of wrap this part up. Phil's issue with romance and stuff like that has always been weird. It's not the fact that it's there, it's that he takes it too seriously. It's fictional, you don't gotta take it seriously. It's supposed to be fun little stuff that makes help build the character and build the world. It's not something that he takes the idea that it's waifus. But understanding that it's just a term it's just a term people use. It's not supposed to be taken seriously, but he does take it seriously. And that's something that really says a lot about Phil being more insecure about his own relationship than anything else. And the fact he wants to be abstained from this. For anything that goes beyond his cultural bubble. His bubble, basically. And this is now going flash forward from December to this month, or last month, when Neanders was added as one of these one of the trading cards for the in Yakuza Ishiden, Like a Dragon Ishiden. Phil was so weird how there's an anime girl, a VTuber there, and instead of trying to understand it, he wants us to like, okay, that's fine, I'm just gonna abstain for a little bit. He doesn't understand this. Like, Phil would never understand, because again, Phil would be more happy if it was like a popular wrestler. Because we all know what Phil cares more about. Phil cares more about sweaty men than women now, because it ultimately has to now look at his cat. And given what we see with Cat, there is nothing to look at. And this is just me being nice, to be generous. But it really says a lot that Phil is so uncomfortable to this stuff, and that's why people point us out. It's because he acts so uncomfortable to it. The fact he takes it seriously, the fact that he's gotten this point, basically married Kat, it definitely wasn't he was with Leanna. He was more of a complete, degenerate at the time. But then he becomes so prudent, he becomes a Puritan. And it's not like he's doing anything to make his marriage better. He spends less time with Kat because they only have one night of time together, which does not make sense. You two are in the same house every day. You don't have an excuse for that. So that's kind of where I am in this part. So I'm going to do part 2, and I'll come back and I'll talk about the One Piece stream a little bit, and that's where I'm going to talk more about why it failed or Phil's coping mechanism. So from me, OpenRux99, I'll see you next time. And again, thank you to Aqua2 for this video. Take care and bye!